characters who are arguably at the peak of this series. Greatest rival to grace the sport genre, and the character's so good, it is legally required in my country to worship him. That's right, today we're gonna find out who wins in a head-to-head clash. The first alpha male in anime history. A character so cold and iconic, the only sport manga character on his level is literally Takamura. So what really makes Rikiishi that much of a monster? Well, first, his introduction is just aura for no reason. I mean, he managed to make riding a bike in slow motion look raw as hell. More importantly, at this point in Ashino Joe's story, he was an already undefeated pro boxer who got sent to juvenile detention for beating the crowd and random men up because Rikiishi was built like that. And since you're not aware, by the way, Rikiishi is the kind of guy who runs in between running balls and snipes them out the airs with ease. I don't think people know how hard it is to not only run through a stampede. I mean, do you remember what happened to Mufasa? He fucking died. Well, Rikiishi did that and struck those balls all over the place. They have a speed of up to 30 miles an hour, by the way. So yeah, Rikiishi has lightning speed in terms of his footwork. Considering he's a boxing prodigy, he also folded Joe, but that's not that important. Now, if you want a perspective of how strong Rikiishi is, in preparation for training against Joe in the prison, Rikiishi is slightly paranoid due to Joe having a secret weapon that could defeat him. So Rikiishi casually walks into a bullpen and smashes their craniums in. This man knocked out bulls. This man knocked out bulls. Before working out even more just to flex on Joe. And since we're doing a teeny little bit of power scaling, every bull is different, but considering we're in Japan, it's pretty likely this was a Japanese Wagyu bull, which at adults usually weigh 800 to 1000 kg. Now, we don't know their ages, but they were probably adults. And Rikiishi at this point in the story was a welterweight, which is roughly 66 kg more or less. And he was able to knock 3 bulls out that is 15 times his regular weight. Now, naturally, they did charge into him. Let's calm ourselves down for a moment, as Joe was able to eat all these punches and his head did remain on his body. Point being though, Rikishi's power, especially at full strength, is very scary. You would not want to get in a fist fight with him, he would shatter every bone in your face. And naturally speaking, monstrous levels of power is always going to be dangerous. But it's not just Rikishi's power that makes him a boxing prodigy, it's the fact in general he is insanely gifted. Now yes, that is what a prodigy means, guys. I mean, his natural talent to simply learn and enhance himself is quite similar to Takamura. I don't think Rikishi's scariest part is his power. I think it's how he combines that power with the boxing basics. Anybody can win a fight based on power, but Rikiishi is tactical. Now, I'm not saying that Takamura isn't strategic. Even when Rikiishi was fighting Joe, who was significantly smaller, he had a strat. He was always thinking about what could have happened in this fight, instead of just simply underestimating Joe, never doubting Joe's ability for a second. Now, one of Takamura's main flaws is the fact he does not take some fights seriously, especially when he's defending his titles. Now, naturally, Takamura is not going to not take Rikiishi seriously, because that would get him killed, but the point is, Rikiishi goes 100% a lot more than Takamura does. Also, the next part is major spoilers for Ashino Joe and Rikiishi, so if you don't know, skip here. Hello to the real viewers of this channel. If you are not aware, or you are, Rikiishi undergoes a horrifying weight cutting program, significantly worse than Takamura against Hawk, leaving him on the verge of death, cutting from welterweight all the way down to bantamweight, which is a 30-pound cut for a guy who's 5'11". Now, this was to prove that he could beat Joe in his own weight class, solidifying his superiority, and now they do have an amazing fight, with Rikiishi landing a massive uppercut to win. However, he soon passes out, and it's revealed that he dies after this fight, due to the temple blow, his weight cutting, and his head hitting the back of the ropes. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because Rikiishi was already dead after that temple blow hitting the back of the rope connection. And no, I'm not saying that Rikiishi has magical powers. What I am saying is, factually speaking, Rikiishi was burning the last embers of his soul in this fight, clinging onto a dying body just so he could win. This matters because of the drive you need to win a massive fight is insane. Obviously, Takamura shows that desire too, but to be a moving corpse and keep winning, that is a different type of aura. Now, I'm not saying that Takamura would be intimidated, however, it does show that to beat Rikiishi first and foremost, you're probably gonna have to kill him. Point being though, Rikiishi knows his shit. Takamura. Well, it's a known thing by anyone who's ever seen this channel, is that Mamoru Takamura is my favorite sport manga character of all time. My favorite MC is Joe Yabuki, by the way. Point being though, I'm not gonna be biased and I'm gonna give you the actual facts. Mamoru Takamura is the man who, as of writing this video, has conquered 4 weight classes, becoming the world champion in all of them, with his most notable opponents being Hawk, Eagle, Bison, and Dragon. Only one of those is a mythical creature. Your mother. Now, all these opponents are the cream of the crop prop, or whatever the saying is, of their division. We have Hawk's unlimited potential and insanely complicated boxing style being taken down by Takamura, showing him what a real monster looks like. We have David Eagle's basics being conquered by pure instincts. We have Bison, who is probably Takamura's hardest opponent, forcing Takamura to bring everything, to also unleash the greatest manga panels of all time. Defeated by a miracle that was not plot armor. Read the manga before you say plot armor.
Ow! Dumbass.
And Dragon, the man who was literally blessed by God, but despite his ability, he was fodder because Takamura was too strong. Point being is though, guys, these guys are world champions going up in weight classes, and yet the outcome was always the same, because Mamoru Takamura proves in this fight that he's not just a weirdo brute. He's a weirdo brute with the scariest level of boxing instinct in the entire series. He's built on the foundations of rigorous training, but also naturally blessed. But with Rikiishi as well, a natural talent doesn't mean anything. He needs to be stronger and he needs to keep training. Each fight Takamura has, we see him constantly evolve into a more refined rhythm, because despite some people thinking he's dumb, he's really not. He has strategies, commonly seen when he notices Hawk's major flaws with his dodging after seeing it only a few times. He adapts to Eagle's more calm nature by throwing wild swings, just enough to capture him. He copies Bison's style and move, effectively rage baiting him, asking the cast what Takamura can do. Not out of ego though, but he's psyching himself up because he knows that Bison's talented, and he needs the confidence to pull it off. When we talk about boxing, slipping or dodging is integral. After all, no one wants to be punched in the face. Takamura's natural instinct is genuinely terrifying, especially seen in the Dragon fight where he slips a punch in the last possible second. A punch, by the way, he couldn't see from his peripheral vision. Peripheral. I can't say that word! Anyway, it's a wild swing that comes out your eyesight. It's actually kind of like when Joe saw through Carlos's Maiden Heaven punches. The only difference is Takamura didn't eat shit, so he dodges like he's got ultra instinct. He's a master of the basic. His opponent catalog, whether you like it or not, is significantly more impressive than Rikiishi. He's constantly evolving and improving. I mean, yes, sometimes, as I said, he doesn't take fights seriously and it looks like he's gonna lose. Well, the second he locks in, the opponent dies. Now, something you're gonna find interesting is Takamura has also obviously fought a bear, and he managed to beat it. And yes, while a bear is not as impressive as fighting multiple bulls, a bear is more likely to, maul you on a daily basis than a bull. And while they don't weigh as much as the combined, strength of a bull, I do think a black bear is a terrifying thing. Obviously, if it was a polar bear, he probably would have died. Outside of fighting that bear, though, he also fought monkeys.
The monkey!
Now yes, fighting a monkey is not as impressive as fighting bears or bulls, but it was about 30 plus monkeys, and when you really get into it, this is actually really impressive. These are a Japanese breed, probably the Japanese macaque or whatever, with a combined weight of roughly 420 kg, 925 pounds, plus or minus, as we don't know how many he defeated. Point being though, this is an incredible act of strength, not just because he beat all those monkeys, but because he was unscathed against a large group. Even then, Takamura is just strong, just like Rikiishi, with the best example being him literally lifting an entire truck off the ground to help a random man. Lifting a car takes insane arm and leg strength, and while we can't say the exact truck, on the Versus website, this could be a Suzuki Carry which weighs 710 kg, so it should not come as a surprise to you when I say that Mamoru Takamura's strength is a feat on par with, or maybe even greater than Rikiishi, maybe just a little bit less. Now yes guys, lifting strength does not correlate to power, however it does paint a picture that Takamura is insanely strong, especially since Takamura wasn't even in his actual weight class at this point. And when you consider Takamura is hard work and talent, you realize why he's the most glazed character of all time. He also beat the shit out of champions in a bar. So you probably know how I usually like to do catch weight for this, especially since, weight classes can decide fights a lot of the time. However, for these two, I don't think special stipulations are needed, as I do think the outcome is always going to be the same, and they're both built different anyway. I doubt Rikiishi would care if Takamura was 2 weight classes above him, and it's not like this is an official fight recognized by the Boxing Association. Plus, Randy didn't do that for Ippo, so it wouldn't be logical for me. Although, I do want to clarify that any opinion I said in any previous video, I still do believe that, by the way. Let's talk about the edges they also have over each other. Takamura has the experience. He is the world champion, he is the pound for pound best boxer in Hajime no Ippo. This is a canonical fact. There is no glaze when I say that Takamura has the edge in experience, as he is the million-point man. If we look at his catalogue of opponents like we did earlier, he's conquered 4 weight classes and 4 world champions who were insane and legendary in their own way. Sure, they pushed him to the brink, but he always managed to come out on top.
Ow, dumbass.
Takamura has learned from all these previous opponents, meaning he has the strategies, especially against high-level ones. Rikishi's boxing record is very impressive. Much like Takamura, he never lost in the ring. However, we should also consider times for this. Rikishi's opponents are an unknown, besides obviously Joe. Now yes, Joe is amazing, he's the greatest sport protagonist ever. Well, that was in bantamweight. Rikishi's most impressive victory wasn't even in his own weight class. Now yes, it does show his insane levels of determination as we know, and Rikishi's opponents are thoroughly dismantled by him because he was a superhuman in his own weight class, but he never fought a world champion. He doesn't have the experience that Takamura has, and some people might say Rikiishi could beat Takamura's opponents. So some I would agree. I mean, I think he would be Hawk. Hawk is an insult to Rikiishi of how he views boxing, and Hawk is just the most overglazed boxer in all of Hajime no Ippo. Eagle was built different in a way that would push him to the brink, and Bison and Keith were amazing in their own right. But Takamura has beat all those guys. Now yes, experience is not something impossible to overcome, but Takamura is different. His opponents are stronger, his opponents are faster. They're a level above what Rikiishi faced. While the Shino Joe takes place in the 1960s to 1970s, Hajime no Ippo is late 1990s to 2000s, as Takamura's career began in the 80s. Boxing has evolved. It doesn't matter that the universes aren't connected or anything, though Hajime no Ippo does love its references.
See you again!
It's still the same sport. Methods of training have changed, how boxer health is managed is changed, nutrition, etc. Now some people might say that's not a fair metric, you would have used it in Carlos vs Sawamura.
Fuck you!
Well no, anime Carlos would still win. I'm not saying that Rikiishi wouldn't be a superhuman if he boxed in the 1990s, but what I am saying is Takamura's opponents are more impressive. However, to say that Rikiishi doesn't have some elements over Takamura would not be true, as despite their strength being somewhat equal, I do think it probably leans towards Rikiishi in a way, especially in terms of punching power. Knocking balls out with barely any punches does mean you have power, as lifting strength is not power. But as I did say, just because Rikiishi has that level of power doesn't mean he can instantly win a fight, since Joe, who is significantly smaller and frailer, was able to eat them, mainly because of determination, but we're putting both men at their physical peak, so it's going to be watching two nuclear bombs detonating in the ring. Also, something of interest is the damage factor. Both men can eat punches. I mean, Rikiishi drops down multiple weight classes and didn't fly away like an old woman with an umbrella in a storm. The same Rikiishi, by the way, who ate rocks to the face. And while we don't know the metrics, I'm willing to bet Joe's rock punches were probably the same force as Takamura punches. So obviously Rikiishi isn't going down to a 1-2 combo. And with Takamura, there's a reason he is undefeated. He's taken insane levels of damage. The biggest example was against Bison, where it looked like he was all over, eating punches without any defense, but he still won. As I would argue, the most important thing in a fight isn't having a good chin, but what you can do when you're faced with that level of offense. And trust me, these guys can handle pressure. That being said though, I do think it will be a split decision, and I'm gonna have to put my cap on. I think Mamoru Takamura takes the victory in a decision. I think Takamura has the combination of skills that lets him take the edge. And the thing is, when I say more experience, there is something that's more massive in between these men. Slightly more than experience. More specifically, stamina. How long you can last. In a fight, I mean. Rikiishi has only ever fought in 8-round boxing matches. Takamura, being the champion, has had longer fights, or at least is expected to fight in more rounds. Actually 12. And I know someone might say, well, you didn't bring that up in any other fight. Well, fuck you. Okay, but no, seriously, because this is the fight where this kind of matters more. Power punches drain stamina, and these guys throw power punches. The more punches you throw mean the more stamina you use. Rikishi's signature punch is an uppercut. It's how he beat Joe, and it's how he beat most of his opponents. Because even if Takamura gets dominated in the early rounds, as our fight progresses, the differences in experience and stamina will become too much for Rikiishi. As the issue with this fight, for me making a decision, is not just personal bias. It's a fact with all these hypotheticals, this is the outcome which could change every single time. I think most of the time Takamura would win, but Rikiishi can easily win this fight. And let's be honest, as I did say, these two are not going to let a draw happen as long as they live. If they had a trilogy, Takamura would win one, Rikiishi would win one, but overall, Takamura just edges him out. I think Takamura's resume and his natural skill bridges the gap between him and Rikishi's possible power difference. And if you guys want another hypothetical, let me know. I don't mind using a boxer we've already seen. That being said though, I will talk to you all later.
Everyone come back. We're having a retrial.